I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week we're going to be looking at the Best Supporting Actress category and trying to figure out who will get nominated for the 2023 Oscars. But if you're new to this series, what I do every single week is break down a category for the 2023 Oscars and give my predictions on what I think will get nominated. We've already talked about the Best Lead Actor and Lead Actress categories and the Best Picture category, of course. But as the Oscar race changes, things evolve and are always constantly changing. So eventually, when we get sort of more into the thick of things, I'll be covering and giving my predictions on the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, and then always trying to figure out how that ultimately impacts the Oscar race. But this is the channel where you find out everything you need to know about the award season and help you have the most accurate predictions possible by hearing my opinions, hearing my takes, hearing my analysis, and then applying it to your own thoughts and opinions for all your sort of ultimate Oscar predictions. That's what I'm here for, and to build a great community. So if you do like the videos, please subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video. We're going to be getting soon into a couple videos a week, so you don't want to miss those. And then also, if you do, I really appreciate if you would comment below. Let me know your supporting actress picks and maybe debate with me and go back and forth, and we get to see, why you think something over else. That's ultimately what I want to build on this channel. So jumping into things, I'm going to give my first two predictions at the same time because they're from the same movie. That's Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley from Women Talking. Right now they're in my sort of 1-2 slot, but that being said, I don't think they're actually going to end up winning. Right now I just have sort of a solid amount of confidence that I think both of them do get in. And every year it seems like we're into this sort of predicament where there's a couple people nominated from the same movie, and there's always debate early on. Who's going to get in, who's not? Are they both going to get in? Are they both not going to get in? But the truth of the matter is that there's a trend now for the past 5 years in a row where every year we have at least one movie that has multiple performances nominated from the same category. So in 2017, we had Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson got nominated for Best Supporting Actor. 2018, Best Supporting Actress, Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone. 2019, we had The Irishman and Joe Pesci and Al Pacino. 2021, we had... Oh no, that was 2019, and then 2020 we had Judas and the Black Messiah with Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya and Best Supporting Actor. And then last year, 2021, we had Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee from The Power of the Dog both get nominated. So we have a trend now where every year, even in surprise situations like Lakeith Stanfield, we see these sort of performances from a movie that's well-liked get nominated multiple times, that the Academy is not afraid of doing that anymore, that that's something actually that they like to do. So you look at this year and you think, okay, well, where's it going to happen this year? I don't really think it's going to happen in supporting actor. It's not, of course, not going to happen in the lead actor or actress category, so it's going to happen in one of the supporting categories. And I actually think actress makes the most sense. And then when trying to figure out which of the movies that will happen with, you have to sort of look at the past 5 years of this trend and figure out what are the movies that got multiple nominations that year, what do they have this year. So the first sort of criteria that's a similarity amongst the past movies that had multiple nominations were that 3 out of those 5 movies, Judas and the Black Messiah, Three Billboards, Irishman, The Favorite, and The Power of a Dog, 3 out of 5 of those movies were nominated for Best Director as well as Best Picture. So you have to look at a movie this year that will most likely get in for Best Director and get in for Best Picture. These are movies that they have sort of multiple nominations. They're very well-liked movies. The Favorite, Three Billboards, even something like Three Billboards where it didn't get a Best Directing nomination, but it was a very strong movie, won the BAFTA. So when looking at what movie will happen to it this year, you have to look at a movie that's well-liked and has a potential to get in for Best Director. So I looked at Women Talking and I thought that makes perfect sense because you just go through it and you go, okay, well, Sarah Polley, right now I have in my Best Directing predictions. She's not a guarantee because I do think there's some issues and some potential controversy over the way she shot the film, so she may sort of get some points deducted because of that. But Women Talking is sort of following a very traditional, almost Best Director kind of a path in the sense that, of course, it premiered at Venice and then had a positive reaction out of that and has, a late Oscar season race and, it's being campaigned. So it is sort of on that sort of journey. And I think Sarah Polley, from the matter of fact that there's also a trend of female directors getting nominated and rewarded in this Best Director category. Most recently, the past 2 Best Director winners were female. So I do think the Academy is trying to sort of make sure that that's sort of an element of the Academy Awards, that they always consider female directors. So I think Sarah Polley, being the most obvious one this year, will get a boost because of that. So I do think she gets in for director. So let's say she gets in for director. Well, that's a very good sign for the supporting actress nominees, because, like I said, 3 out of the 5, and really should have been probably 4 of the 5 of the past movies that had multiple nominations within the same category, their movies were nominated for Best Director as well. So that's a good sign for Women Talking. Then, of course, you have to be well liked. If we look at the actors that were nominated, not only were they in a good movie that was nominated for Best Director, that was well appreciated, the actor was also well liked. So then you look at the people in Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley. Of course, Jessie Buckley was nominated for The Lost Daughter last year. So she is well liked and in the sort of position of potentially being nominated again. Claire Foy was, awards darling for The Crown on the TV side, and then, got a BAFTA nomination for First Man and almost got an Academy Award nomination. So she is someone, along with Jessie Buckley, that have that sort of buzz and past nominees and past respect. And then you look at some of the other people within this sort of ensemble, and you go, okay, well, Frances McDormand is in it, and of course she's well liked, but she's very briefly in it. She's not even on the campaign, for your consideration. She's not even being campaigned, so she's not going to get nominated. The other sort of star of the movie is Rooney Mara, but she's getting campaigned in lead, and I don't think she has a chance in that category. So then you look at it and you go, okay, Women Talking, well-liked movie, should get nominated for Best Director, should get in for Best Picture. Acting focus, well, who's going to get nominated? Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley. They're the sort of 2 notable names within that supporting actress category. Ben Whishaw could be a potential for Best Supporting Actor, but we'll talk about that, next week, at least on the actress side. For a film that is very sort of relevant in terms of its themes of what Hollywood is dealing with in society, very much a sort of screenplay-based, acting-based film. You would think that a well-liked movie, which I do think Women Talking will ultimately be at the Oscars, you'd think it would get an acting nomination, so where would that be? So you could go, well, I only think one of them is going to get nominated. Well, which one? Hard to say, right? Because if you've seen the film, they're both almost on a similar side. They both have similarly sort of passionate defenses, and they're less of an intimate, quiet performance. So they're similar in that sense. They're similar in the sense that, Claire Foy has been respected on the TV side and hasn't gotten any acting nominations, but Jessie Buckley has only gotten 1. She's young as well, so they're similar in that regard too. And then you could say, okay, well, I don't think either of them are going to get nominated. Okay, that's fine. You may think neither of them will get nominated, but then you have to get Sarah Polley out of your Best Director slot. Then you have to put Women Talking in your 8, 9, 10 slot. Look at your overall predictions. I always say that. If you want to have accurate predictions, you can't just say, oh yeah, Women Talking is going to get no acting nominations, but it's going to get in for Best Picture and Best Director. That wouldn't make any sense just based on the style of movie that it is. So they could nominate neither, but I don't think that would happen because I do think Women Talking is a strong film. They could nominate one or the other, but I don't know exactly who to pick. So I ultimately think they nominate both. But in doing so, I actually do think they cancel each other out. I don't think either one has a real sort of dominant performance that would really sort of stand out and be super notable. Like if you watch Judas and the Black Messiah, Dan Kaluuya has that sort of Fred Hampton, very sort of bombastic, charismatic performance. He's the sort of obvious one versus someone like Keith Stanfield. So I think ultimately Women Talking gets those both nominations, but I actually don't have either of them winning right now. I think actually if I were to pick a winner right now, it would be my third pick, which is Carey Mulligan in She Said. Now, this is an interesting kind of a performance because it's not a super loud and bombastic performance. This is very much an All the President's Men, Spotlight-esque, very sort of systematic, process-driven journalist movie. And because of that, Carey Mulligan doesn't have a big sort of dramatic speech. It's very much about the small sort of quiet work and the intimate stuff that ultimately executed on justice, in this case of publishing that story against Harvey Weinstein. And like I've said before, I think Hollywood's in a bit of a pickle that if they sort of completely ignore She Said, that will be sort of a bad look on them because they're not willing to engage with this ugly part of their past. But then also if they reward the film heavily, people are going to say, well, you're just rewarding yourself. You still actually did those horrific things and helped Harvey Weinstein and whatnot. So there's a sort of a lose-lose situation. So ultimately, like I said before, I do think that they recognize it. I do think that they sort of acknowledge it, that this is a direct Hollywood story that will resonate, particularly with members of the Academy, and they'll feel a need, I think, of sort of justice and obligation to reward this film. So I think it gets in for Best Picture. I think it gets in for Screenplay. So then you go, okay, if it gets in for Best Picture, if it gets in for Screenplay, well, it's a sort of acting screenplay type of a movie. I think it's going to get in for Best Original Score, but that's probably it on the technical side, so it should get in somewhere else. I think acting. And then, if you do think it's going to get in for Best Picture, well, where's it going to win? I don't think it's going to win for screenplay. Maybe it wins for score. I think it ultimately does win, though, for supporting actress for Carey Mulligan. If she gets in, there was some debate over whether or not she would go lead and co-lead there with Zoe Kazan. But if you've seen the film, you know that, and based on everything we sort of read, Zoe Kazan definitely is more of the lead. However, that being said, Carey Mulligan has a significant part of the movie, and that helps for her supporting actress bid, which is why I have her in here. Not only because I think she said will be a movie that sneaks into Best Picture and gets in for Screenplay and a couple other nominations. I also think that when you see the poster and you see the whole trailers, it's Zoe Kazan and it's Carey Mulligan. They're very much promoting this as a co-lead kind of a situation. And when we see co-leads get nominated for supporting roles, oftentimes they win. You think of something like Judas and the Black Messiah. When you think about that movie, you think a lot about Fred Hampton and Daniel Kaluuya. Even though he got nominated in Best Supporting Actor, you think about him a lot. In the same way you think of Mahershala Ali in Green Book a lot. You think of him and Viggo Mortensen sort of as co-leads, but because Mahershala won in Supporting Actor and because that movie was well liked, he won in that category. So ultimately, that's why screen time is so important in these supporting categories, because if you think of She Said and you think of it favorably and you like the movie, you immediately think of Carey Mulligan. So it's an easy sort of supporting actress kind of a nomination, rather than thinking of the third or the fourth person in a movie that you can nominate instead. It's an easy sort of way to campaign and a little bit of a category fraud situation, but I do think that Carey Mulligan, she's not sort of the main reporter. She does do the reporting, though, but she's not sort of, Zoe Kazan is the sort of significant main person on the case. So I think Carey Mulligan, because of the strength of the film, because of the amount of time she has on screen, and because of her recent success. I mean, she was nominated early on for An Education. She was nominated a couple of years ago now for Promising Young Woman. I thought she could have almost won that category, but maybe it was a little bit too early. Maybe this is the year for her to win. A well-respected actress who's been in the Oscar conversation, getting nominated in the case of something like A Promising Young Woman, but also sort of being in the conversation with Suffragette and Mudbound and Wildlife. She's always been in this sort of festival, dramatic, fall release kind of a movie window in these past few years, so she's building up her credibility on that side. And then also, when you think about the film, I think she's probably a more well-known and a stronger actress than someone like a Zoe Kazan in terms of just her Oscar recognition and her star power. So when we think of the movie, you may think of someone like Carey Mulligan as a sort of a lead of the movie, even though she's being campaign supporting actress, just because she's a sort of more well-known person that's in the film. So I do think that the movie will be well-respected. I do think Carey Mulligan gets in for here, and I ultimately do think she could even win in this category. Then in my fourth slot, I'm going to go with Kerry Condon from Banshees of Inisherin. Like I said in past videos, like last week's video, I really am a believer of this film in general. I do think it could get in for director, picture, screenplay, lots of acting awards, and I do think it will be a sort of a significant player here at the Oscars. And that's probably the number one reason why I have Carey in here. When you see the trailers initially, you think, okay, this is going to be a Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson kind of a buddy situation. But when you actually watch the film, she is a significant part of the film, and it really is sort of like a three-hander between the three, that she gets her own emotional scenes, she gets her own sort of storyline and her connection with Colin Farrell's character, and then she actually is, a significant part of the film. So if you like the movie and you think about the movie, she's one of the people that you think of. I also think that for a lot of people, there will be a situation where you'll go, wow, who's that? She was really good, and sort of wow you because you've never seen her before, and she's so great in it. Now, fans of Better Call Saul or Ray Donovan, on the TV side, are well versed in her as an actress. But I think for a lot of members who only watch movies, and even someone like myself, I didn't really know too much about her going into the film, and was very much surprised by her performance. So I think a lot of people will have that experience. So that's sort of like a wow, who is that kind of a factor that I think will benefit her. But more importantly, I do think that she will ride the success of the film. Because when you look at the Best Supporting Actress category, it is a category that is intimately tied with having a Best Picture nomination. As a matter of fact, if you look at the past 5 years, there's an average of 3.4 out of the 5 nominees whose film is nominated for Best Picture. So that means that if you're an actress in this category, in the supporting actress category and your film is not nominated for Best Picture, you have a lower likelihood of getting nominated. An average of 3.4. I mean, there's many years where 4 out of the 5 nominees, like last year, were nominated for Best Picture. There's only one, that sort of occasional sort of token example. And that's different than a category like Best Actress, which has only an average of 2.2 of the 5 nominees have their movie also be nominated for Best Picture. You know, just like last year, 0 out of the 5 Best Actress nominees had their movie nominated for Best Picture, but 4 out of the 5 Best Supporting Actress nominees had their movie nominated for Best Picture. So that's a situation where we often see movies that are well respected to have sort of strong supporting actress situations, and then also it just makes sense, right? If you like a movie, if you like something like The Power of the Dog, you want to nominate everyone in it. Kristen Dunst, she's campaigning supporting actress, perfect. Let's nominate her there. I think similar situation is going to happen here, where Martin McDonagh's last film, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, won 2 acting awards and had 3 nominations. I think that could be a similar situation with this film, in which there could be 2 acting awards, and Carey Condon sort of comes along for the ride and gets that supporting actress nomination. And with how up in the air this category is, she could potentially even win and do, a really strong sign of support for that film. But ultimately, I think she rides the wave on the success of the film, on the fact that this is an actor who works with this is a director who works with actors very well and has been celebrated in the past with 2 Oscars with his last film. I also think that the Terry Condon, Brendan Gleeson, and Colin Farrell will get nominated. I think she will ride the success of the film because of how much it sort of gives her to chew on as an actress and some of her speeches and performance in general. And then with my 5th slot, I'm going to go with Jean Smart from Babylon. Now, this is a total sort of out of the left field, very sort of high odds to win situation, but right now I'm putting my bet on it. So first of all, it was announced recently that Margot Robbie will be campaigning for lead for Babylon, as I predicted a couple of weeks ago. So there's no sort of concern of her coming in and taking away Jean Smart's potential for a win. Now, this is still a long shot of a prediction because no one's seen the film. No one knows how much Jean Smart is in the film, if she's even good in the film. But there are some indications that I think are telling for a potential nomination. First of all, I believe in the strength of the film. And as we just established with Carey Condon, being in a movie that gets nominated for Best Picture has a strong chance of helping you get in for Best Supporting Actress, the category. So I think Babylon's going to get in for Best Picture. I think it could even win. I think it's going to get in for screenplay potentially, but cinematography and score and lead actress and director. So I think it's going to have a strong showing on that side. So I think Jean Smart will sort of ride that wave and on the strength of the film. Then, of course, you look at the performance and the type of performance that it is. The first thing being that this movie is 3 hours long, so unlike a movie that's only 2 hours, it has, of course, another hour for it to establish its characters, for the actors to have unique and interesting scenes, to have at least, in a 2-hour movie, this may have been only a single scene performance from Jean Smart, but now she may have 2-3 dynamic scenes, which makes her more memorable when you think of the film, and her character more developed, just because, frankly, you have more time in a 3-hour film. That's one thing. Then I believe, of course, in the strength of the film. Then you look at the type of performance itself, which is, based on what we know about the movie and the time period, I think this seems to be like a sort of Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard type of character, maybe a silent film star who's a little bit more jealous of the younger actresses, who's been in there for a long time and has that sort of wisdom, but also some of that bitterness, maybe sort of like a Mary Pickford-esque type of a connection there. Hard to say for sure, but that's what it sort of indicates to me based on the trailer. And then, of course, so you have sort of the strength of the film, you have the potential really sort of juicy kind of a performance of a Norma Desmond type, very Hollywood connection there, based on potentially a real-life actress. Okay, then of course lots of time to do the acting, 3 hours. And then Jean Smart in and of herself. I mean, 2019 she was nominated for The Watchmen. 2021 she was nominated for Mayor of Easttown and Hacks. And then 2022 she won for Hacks, and the same with the 2021. So she won 2 Emmys in the past 2 years, has been nominated a bunch. She's really having a moment on the TV side, which is not, the Hollywood side, not the Academy side, but they're very much interconnected and intertwined. So Academy members who also watch TV will have that recognition of her. And we've seen, actresses like Nicole Kidman or Laura Dern even do well and have sort of career resurgences because of their strength on TV, which ultimately leads into Oscar nominations and a win in the case of Laura Dern. So I think Jean Smart will sort of wow people late into the season and have this sort of late season push and get nominated. I mean, let's not forget, every year there's a surprise nomination at Oscar night in the acting categories where we go, wow, we never saw that before. And it's very difficult to predict, but I think Jean Smart is in that sort of perfect situation where the film will be releasing late. It will be one of the last films to really debut and have that buzz. So going into Oscar nomination night, it will peak very perfectly. Jean Smart's a very well liked and appreciated character and actress, and like I said, we always see these sort of late acting nominations where in 2017 you have Leslie Manville from Phantom Thread, a movie that was released late. Eventually enough people saw it and then she was sort of surprised and got in. 2018, what do I have? Oh, Sam Rockwell sneaks in for Vice. 2019, Kathy Bates had a surprise nomination for Richard Jewell, I thought. 2020, you had Lakeith Stanfield, which we talked about earlier, with sort of a surprise, wow, we even see this guy coming, nomination. And then last year with Judi Dench in Belfast. So you look at all those films, they're all Best Picture nominations, they're all movies that were well liked and overperformed. So I think of Babylon, a late release, big movie, big sort of strong Christmas release, gets a lot of buzz, gets a lot of critical acclaim, and because it will be the most recent thing that Academy members have watched, they'll think of Jean Smart, have that sort of top of mind awareness, and get in, particularly if she has this sort of dynamic, interesting performance. Of course, a lot of it is what ifs, but I think it's a strong chance to bet on for its potential to get nominated and do well. Now, just jumping into our possible contenders quickly. The first one I have is Chau for The Whale. This is probably the most logical performance to get nominated at this time versus someone like a Jean Smart. I just have it on the outside because I'm a little bit more down on the film The Whale. In general, it has, strong critical reviews, but not maybe glorious critical reviews. There are some sort of questionings with some of the critics, at least that I follow, in terms of its overall quality. I think Brendan Fraser is going to be the sort of main standout of the film, and that's what people sort of resonate towards. Now, there's a strong chance of her getting nominated as well because she plays his best friend, nurse, and they have that sort of connection, which is a warm connection. So if you like Brendan Fraser and his character, you'll by extension, I think, like Chau. But also her performance is, for the most part, intimate and small, and a little bit more quiet. So if we see a late period Jean Smart, which is big and bold and has some great scenes, really surprise people, that could get in, versus maybe some of the more of a quieter performance from The Whale, a movie that premiered all the way back in Toronto in September. But this movie could very much follow the path of someone like Aronofsky's previous film, The Wrestler, in which Marissa Tomei got nominated for Best Supporting Actress and Mickey Rourke got nominated for Best Lead Actor. In the same way, we could see a Brendan and a Chau situation there. But ultimately, like I said, I'm not super convinced that this film will resonate with all members of the Academy, that maybe it peaked a little bit early, that I'm not sure it's going to get in for Best Picture. So if it doesn't get in for Best Picture, that hurts Hong's chances in general. She, of course, really sort of popped off on the scene for 2017's Downsizing, but that film wasn't as well celebrated as well, and she ultimately didn't get a nomination. So there are some concerns, I think, for her of a smaller performance for her to ultimately be forgotten, but the movie still did, has a very strong audience reaction, has played the festivals. I do think Brendan Fraser is going to get nominated, so there may be some, leftover connection between Fraser and Chau there for her to get that nomination. And then my other possible contender is actually going to be Jamie Lee Curtis from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now, I know a lot of people are really campaigning for Stephanie Hsu to get nominated, and while I really did appreciate her performance, I don't see it getting nominated. It's a situation where we have an unknown actress competing, in this case against a lot of sort of known established actresses, and is she the sort of most dynamic part of the movie? That's debatable. It has a very creative directing and script, and Michelle Yeoh is great in it, and Ki Kwan is also great in the film as well. So is she the sort of main standout? I wouldn't say necessarily. And then also, she's competing right now with Jamie Lee Curtis in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I actually think has probably more likelihood of getting nominated, because Jamie is someone who is very well respected within Hollywood. Even though she's never been nominated before, she has a lot of friends and has been in this game for a long time and is sort of actively campaigning for it. I mean, she posts on her Instagram about the film and her potential chances of getting nominated. She is attending these Q&A. She is very passionate about the film. Of course, she also has Halloween Ends, which is her final Halloween film. There's a little bit of maybe sort of positive reception towards her and buzz about her right now, which I think will actually hurt Chu's chances, because I don't think Jamie Lee has a sort of dynamic performance. I don't think you think, wow, she was so great in the movie. I mean, she is great in the film, but that's maybe not the number one thing you think of, that Jamie Lee's so great in the film. But because she is campaigning and because she kind of wants it, and I think that will ultimately hurt Stephanie Hsu's chances at getting that nomination, because it'll sort of pull votes away from her, and you already have Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think Michelle is going to get in. So if it gets in for lead actor and if it gets in for supporting actor and supporting actress, will it really get 2 nominations and then also compete with something like A Woman Talking? The reason why I have Woman Talking getting for 2 nominations and not, say, Everything Everywhere All at Once is because Woman Talking has no other nominations, probably in any of the other acting categories. So it makes sense. If you like Woman Talking, there's where you put your love. But if you like Everything Everywhere All at Once, you're going to put your love in screenplay and director and picture and supporting actor and lead actress. Do you really want to put it in supporting actress too? That's the thing that's sort of difficult for me to sort of get over that hump. So while I don't think Jamie Lee has his most dynamic performance, I think she's well liked within Hollywood. She's in a film that's very well appreciated. She is very good in the film, and she's someone that's never been nominated before, so it could be sort of a legacy narrative nomination. Potentially even like Judi Dench from Belfast last year, surprise come Oscar nomination night. But it's really sort of this is an opportunity to talk about Stephanie Hsu, but also Jamie Lee Curtis, and them actually almost canceling each other out for the supporting actress category, which may upset a lot of people. I know a lot of people have Hsu and even Jamie Lee in their predictions for this category, but right now I'm having it on the outside. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you comment below. Let me know your thoughts on the Best Supporting Actress category, and stay tuned to next week, where I'll give my predictions for the Best Supporting Actor category. Until next time, stay tuned.